Namaskar to all. It's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to have a wonderful webinar from Dr. Jitendra Kumar. I think one of the best webinar we are going to have, and something which we will cherish and remember for a number of days to come. In my personal opinion, because I am also from biotechnology background, we welcome and thank in advance, even though of course we will listen to him, Dr. Jitendra Kumar. I'll give you a brief introduction about him before we go into his complete webinar series, webinar talk. Dr. Jitendra Kumar has done his PhD in biotechnology from IMT Chandigarh, which is a very well-known institution here, very competitive way to get into. And then he has done his postdoc from the University of Illinois. He has also done a postdoc from Ohio State University. I think he has worked on the chromatin remodeling and mitochondrial dysfunction in heart, liver, and brain. He has published several SCI Index journal publications. He also obtained his MBA from Fisher's College of Business, Ohio State University. And since that day, he's involved in several entrepreneurship activities. And that's why I think after coming back to India, he joined IKP Knowledge Park as Vice President of Life Science Incubator. And I happen to know him from those days. He was not knowing me, but I know him. So you see, he was so famous. The IKP Knowledge Park is one of the initial first knowledge park for bioincubators, and he was the person behind its development since those days. He has mentored several incubators, several companies. He has helped the several R&D organizations and universities to commercialize the R&D product and to how to help them in commercializing. One of the very challenging and difficult job for the academicians to do, and he has been instrumental behind that. Not only that, within the organization, he has brought several government funds to develop the facilities, they develop the infrastructure in the knowledge park that was useful to many of the incubators there. And that's why the knowledge park, what you see today, is one of the foundation was laid by, he has his role to play in there. Now currently, Dr. Jitendra Kumar is working as the Managing Director and Head of Bangalore Bio Innovation Center, which focus more on innovation incubations in agriculture, food, nutrition, biofuel, bioenergy, pharma, and healthcare. And he has been working very actively with the Karnataka government, particularly with the Department of IT, BT, and in the Science and Technology. The Karnataka Biotechnology and Incubation Technology Service, which was established recently. He is the managing director of them. I think if I keep on telling his achievements and its contribution to the entrepreneurship in biotechnology in our country, there is no end to it. So I will leave it to here. I suggest everybody to go through his profile in the web page or to the BIRAC website. You will get to know about him. So rather than me talking about him, I'll give the charge to Dr. Jitendra Kumar, who will enlighten us about how you can innovate in biotechnology, and more importantly, how you can make money out of it, how you can commercialize, how you can monetize out of this, involve it, how to get money from the government, how to set up the innovation. If I keep on talking, it will go on. So let me hand over and welcome Dr. Jitendra Kumar. Doctor, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mukesh, for your kind introduction. Although it's quite embarrassing to be told so much about myself, maybe just a humble efforts from my side. But I thank you for the kind introduction. I thank Mr. Vibhuti Vikramaditya, Dr. Vibhuti Vikramaditya, with whom I have been associated for quite some time, long time. And I appreciate his efforts to develop science and technology innovation in the state of Bihar, which has been known for great scientific discoveries and innovations in the past, but recently it has slided into under development. But we all are geared towards making it happen. and I'm sure that with these efforts, humble efforts, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. With this, I would like to start my presentation. So, Dr. Vibhuti, if you can just put my presentation, it will be really good.
Yeah, Sunny, please share.
I'm sure there are many students who are attending this, many researchers who are attending this webinar, and it is my pleasure, honor to be with you. If there is anything that I can do for you to start a company in the area of biotechnology, to pursue in this area, in any related area, I would be at your disposal and I'll be at your service. Please contact me.
Most of the participants are PhD students and researchers.
Very nice. They are the ideal participants.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Any difficulty in putting the slides?
1 minute, he's doing that.
Okay.
Well, हाँ क्या हुआ? हो रहा है 1 minute. Okay, wait. 1 minute. Are you looking now the file? फाइल दिख रहा है क्या?
हाँ, प्रेजेंटेशन दिख रहा है लेकिन वो
ओके, फाइल बोर्ड में नहीं
क्लियर नहीं है.
एक मिनट. अब है? अब ठीक है?
अभी ठीक है.
Okay.
Thank you, Vibhuti ji, for putting this presentation. So let me give you an introduction to the organization for which I am working. And I have split my talk into two portions. One is the theoretical and practical aspects of biotechnology entrepreneurship challenges and opportunities. And the other is the study of or case presentation on Bio Innovation Center as a microcosmic study and inductive study. What I say microcosmic and inductive means I will make a presentation on this as a microcosm, meaning that it is an ecosystem that we are trying to build in this portion of the country, but it can be studied and inductive in other areas also, meaning that it can be applied it can be transported to other areas. The whole ecosystem that we have tried to develop can be modeled into some other areas also, in some other areas also. That is the two parts of the presentation that I'm going to make. The Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is a joint initiative of Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, and Department of Electronics, ITBT and SNT, Government of Karnataka, under the Biotech Parks scheme of Government of India. However, the administrative control lies with Government of Karnataka because it is situated in the state of Karnataka, and it is organized as a Section 8 not-for-profit company, which means that there are shareholders from the government side. The Government of Karnataka holds most of the shares. That is the reason the administrative control of the organization is within the state of Karnataka. I am trying to tell you all this because this is a great model, governance model for the state and for the country. Next slide, please. Yes. So no, go back to the previous slide. Yeah. So as I told, I have made this presentation to two parts. One is the challenges and opportunities in biotechnology, and the other is the microcosmic study of Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. Let us study about what is the meaning of establishing a startup venture in biotechnology. That is very important. See, you can start a venture in many areas. It can be a dairy farm, it can be a shop. Even a farmer is an entrepreneur in many ways of the term. Okay. But when we are talking about venture, actually we mean that it is a technology-based venture, innovation-based venture, which is unique, new, and it has a cutting-edge technology attached to it. It has innovation, and it can solve a particular market need in a very unique way. This is why we are saying startup venture in biotechnology. It is a deep science tech. People who are in this field will understand it, the depth of what it is. Basically, it's a R&D only. There's no distinction, I think, between R&D and innovation in the area of biotechnology. For example, when a polymerase chain reaction was discovered or invented, that time it is known as invention. He got a Nobel Prize also. But if we see in retrospect, I think polymerase chain reaction is an innovation. Now I will tell you the difference between innovation and invention. That is the basic criteria to define how we go forward. Okay. So I request for a next slide, please. Basic research versus translational research. Or you can say invention versus innovation. Basic research, invention. Translational research leads to innovation. What is the difference between these two? Unless we understand the difference, it may be very difficult for us to go further in terms of innovation or understand its implications. The basic research or invention is driven by curiosity and questions. It's just a curiosity. I want to know how it works. That's it. But when we talk about translational research or innovation, it means developing useful products or services. Useful products or services. Useful for whom? Useful for customers, consumers. It's useful for society. For innovation, on the other side, is solving practical problems. The problem that you are facing in society, that you are trying to solve through R&D. Through R&D, which there is existing knowledge, but you want to apply this knowledge to solve a particular problem, there could be some tweaking of the existing knowledge. You can add something to the existing knowledge and develop the product. But by and large, the science is supposed to be known. Questions answered are how things work, why things work. But in case of translational research or innovation, we say what interventions can be developed using existing knowledge. Next slide. When an idea comes to you to start a company or start a venture, or if you are evaluating any other idea, as a jury member or anybody who wants to evaluate idea for commercialization or for startup venture in biotechnology, we have to understand that the basic science or underlying science has to be very strong. That is why it is at the base of the column, base of the pyramid. Underlying science has to be very, very strong. Then comes the product market potential. Unless you know the product market potential, it is not feasible or prudent to go further in this direction, because you will not reap the benefits of your innovation if the product market potential is not known. Then the other factor is the people factor. People factor means the team. The team of people who are going into this entrepreneurship. See, entrepreneurship can fail, but the team may not fail. The team is agile enough or resourceful enough to start another venture or say another idea. They can test another idea. So therefore, we look at team very, very intensely. The team of entrepreneurs in the entrepreneurship has to be very, very strong. When we say strong, it means that it must have a diverse team members who can bring different expertise. One example I will give: at Ohio State University, when I was doing, I was appointed as a research scientist. I had a chance to go to an MBA school also. There was a flexibility of doing an MBA there in technology, entrepreneurship, and commercialization. There, during the MBA program, they had given us some technologies that are lying on shelf in public research labs, and we had to evaluate those technologies in a team setting. We were given the technologies, and we had to form a team, and we had to go further. Our team was comprising of myself, who was a scientist, then a person from Japan, a lady from Japan who was a business development officer or a business. She had a strong background in business development. Then one person was from finance background. See, one of the beautiful things about MBA in abroad, or especially in US, is that they do MBA after several years of experience. Not like us, who just go for MBA after bachelor's. So MBA program gives emphasis on people who have certain areas of expertise. Then only they give. So there is a weightage given to it. Apart from GMAT score, they give weightage to the experience also. That is very unique. So that's why I'm saying that we had a diverse team members, and all of them put their expertise together to find out how this venture can be started. And we really started a venture from Ohio State University during an MBA program. So this was an institutional mechanism of venture creation. That part of institutional mechanism of venture creation is not there currently in India. We in Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is trying to institutional mechanism of venture creation. Hopefully something will come out. So therefore the team is very, very important. And I have given you the example of how in US we formed the team around the technology, and we did it. So next slide, please. Yeah. When we talk about biotechnology, what are the sectors and subcategories that it has? Unless we understand this, we cannot in our brain, in our mind, create a framework of which area to choose, how to actually go about it. So one is therapeutic, small molecule peptide and oligonucleotides. The other is biologicals and vaccines, oligonucleotides and antisense, proteins, monoclonal antibodies, stem cells. Third is diagnostics, in vitro diagnostics, molecular diagnostics, companion diagnostics, clinical laboratory services, etc. Next slide. Medical devices. This is a very hot area where a lot of startups are coming up, medical devices, because people from engineering background, electronics background can also start this. the knowledge of biotechnology may not be required that much, but of course you have to be some knowledge of healthcare, or you have to work with doctors. Okay. Then combination device therapeutic products, research tools and reagents, which two examples are sequencers and microarrays, digital healthcare and healthcare delivery IT, bioagriculture, biofuels, industrial biotechnology. These are the areas, 10 areas that you can choose from, to start your venture. Next slide. One example, say, the technology platform that you create can lead to several areas, several fields. For example, if you have a DNA technology platform, then it can lead to therapeutic products also. So the combination that I gave, or the explanation in the previous slide, I talked about sectors, subsectors. Actually, it is interrelated. For example, if there is a DNA technology platform, it can lead to therapeutic products also, because for therapeutic product, you need to know the genes involved. It can lead to diagnostic products, because you need to know the genes to find the probes, to make the probes and make a diagnostic kit, for example, DNA-based diagnostic kits. Then research instruments and tool products also you can make, so DNA sequencers, innovation in sequencing, or several others, proteomics, etc. I will not talk proteomics because we are talking about DNA technology. Okay, so these are the areas, offshoots it can happen. Next slide. What are the time frames? It's very important for an entrepreneur to know what time does it take for a biotechnology product to come to the market. Now, biotechnology is a buzzword. People will start their entrepreneurship, but without knowing the time frame of incubation period, how much time it takes for product development or regulatory clearances, etc., it may be very fatal for you. So therapeutics products takes 12 to 15 years. Biologicals and vaccines take 12 to 15 years. Diagnostics take 3 to 7 years. Medical devices takes 3 to 5 years. Combination of device therapeutic products takes 5 to 10 years. Research tools and instruments take 3 to 7 years. Digital healthcare and healthcare delivery IT 1 to 3 years. These are average. It can be earlier also. I'm not saying that somebody cannot develop products more earlier than this, but I'm saying generically average life of the average time it takes for biotechnology product to come to the market. Bioagriculture 7 to 16 years. Biofuels 5 to 10 years. Industrial biotechnology 2 to 4 years. Now, one thing must have struck you. Here I am saying biologicals and vaccines 12 to 15 years. How come we could develop COVID vaccine for COVID within 1 year, 2 years? Within 1.5 to 2 years, we could develop it. So the answer is, for coronavirus, we had a long, research already going on. We knew the virus very much. But the other thing is, the vaccine is still under trials, actually speaking. It's an emergency use authorization that is given. And we knew the technology of, vaccines for a long time. So the governments across have given the emergency use authorization. But actually, to know the long-term effects of vaccine, maybe 15 years may be required. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, to start a biotechnology company, when I'm saying biotechnology, actually it means therapeutics, biologics, as well as medical devices and tech devices also. Nowadays, biotechnology is a vast subject. If you go to BIRAC, Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, which is a body of the Government of India, Department of Biotechnology, they treat medical devices and diagnostics under biotechnology actually. They fund it. So therefore, I will use the word interchangeably. When I'm talking about medical devices and biotech devices and diagnostics, actually think that actually it is biotechnology only, or life sciences. Okay, next slide. Oh, so no, yeah, value enhancing milestone. Can you go to previous slide, please? Previously, yeah. When we talk about therapeutics and biologics, there is a various steps in which you can add the value. When we do a product development, there is something called value chain. Means from idea to the product who is going to the customer, there are several steps in which you can add value. When you add value, it becomes useful. It becomes more useful. It becomes more, the risk of development is reduced. So that's why milestones and value chain analysis is very important. What is the value chain analysis for therapeutics and biologics? The first step is completion of basic and translational research. You must have completed the basic and translational research. Completion of development and in vitro testing. Completion of lead process optimization. Completion of preclinical testing in animals. Filing of new drug application. Regulatory review and product approval. Scale up and manufacturing. Marketing and growth. These are 8 value enhancing steps. There could be several more steps in between, but these are major ones. Okay. Next one. Next slide. In case of medical devices and diagnostics, go to the previous slide, please. In case of medical device and diagnostic, there is little bit change. There is some change in value chain analysis. For example, this is first is completion of basic and translational research, completion of proof of concept phase. Then, of course, you go for prototyping and all. Then you do a regulatory clearance, and then you commercialize and market. So some difference is there. Here, the prototype and development is very important. Next slide, please. Yeah. When I said value enhancing step, what does it mean? And how it is related to milestone via the value of the company. See, at each milestone, I said that the value is increased. The value is increased of the company. Therefore, you can see on the right hand side increasing value of the company. Okay. At each milestone, when it is reached, the risk is reduced. You can see the dotted line. The risk profile is reduced. Why it is important? Because it is very important to know that biotechnology is risky business. It is also very capital intensive. It is also very long gestation period. So therefore, each value, when you reach each value chain or milestone, the risk is reduced. You can monetize at any step. You can leave your business at any step. You can sell off the business. But the value of the money that you will get, or value of the product or technology or the venture that you will get will be less when you sell it off earlier, and it will be more when you sell it off later. But you will see that the venture companies, they normally invest at a stage where risk is lessened. Risk is important for us to know, because the technologies that are developed in the research labs, many academic institutions, are normally half-baked. They are only at the publication stage, new discovery stage. But suppose if you are talking about therapeutics or any value product, it would be flask level, laboratory level validation. Mostly when the discovery is made, people, PhD and postdoc will leave. They will not continue, and there is no funding also to go for more activities. On the other side, industry, they will not take up these technologies which are there in the research lab stage. They will want it to be fully baked. When we say fully baked, means they want industry ready. Now, industry and academia do not talk to each other very much. They don't have much more interaction. And also, the gap which I'm talking about, the academia and the industry, the gap where this technology is actually lying and it has to reach certain stage to reach to industry, is actually called a value of death. Value of death is very important for an entrepreneur to know, because it's very important, because it's much more prominent in case of biotechnology. Value of death means you need lot of resources, risk taking ability as well as the finance to take it from value of death to the other side, so that the technology and the product and the company lives. That is very important. This is very important to understand and to do a thorough analysis of our venture before starting. Next. What are the essential elements necessary to growing biotechnology cluster? Why am I talking about cluster here, biotechnology cluster? Because the startups cannot on themselves cross the valley of death. They cannot become successful unless there are other components that are present. For example, if you have an idea in biotechnology, do you think you can create laboratories and you can hire staff and you can get funding and all? It's a huge exercise. Even to create a laboratory facility, you will take crores of rupees. So therefore, what are these elements necessary for growing biotechnology cluster and actually increasing the chances of success? First is abundance of high quality, adequate funded academic research. This is very important, which we see in Bangalore. We have high quality, adequately funded academic research. In Bihar, it is coming up of two central universities, IITs, and several other engineering institutions. I think it is coming up, but I would think that it needs much more intensive effort to institutions such as Indian or National Center for Biological Sciences, or like the way we have in Bangalore. So that step needs much more force, much more efforts. Yeah, no, go to previous slide. Ready resource of seasoned and experienced biotechnology entrepreneurs. It's coming up in Bihar. It is coming up in Patna. But in Bangalore, there is a long history of seasoned, experienced biotechnology entrepreneurs. Say, for example, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw madam. She started in 1980s actually. Much more, so therefore, much more early, she had this kind of, Bangalore had this kind of ecosystem. Then ready access to sources at risk, early and development stage capital willing to fund startups. We must have the capital. Right now, government is funding a lot. Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC is funding Ignition grant. State of Karnataka is also having, idea to POC. I think that Bihar government has also started some kind of funding for startups, and I think it should increase. Adequate supply of technically skilled workforce experience in biotech sector is very important, because unless we have a biotech workforce, you cannot do entrepreneurship, because you will need a skilled manpower. No? Suppose if I want to start a biotech company, I need a skilled manpower to take it forward. So that is very important. Availability of dedicated wet laboratories and specialized facilities at affordable rates, very important. Suppose I want to start a company, I need infrastructure wet laboratory facility. What does it mean? It means incubation centers like Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, or whatever we have in IIT Patna, or IIT or NIT Rourkela that Dr. Mukesh Gupta is heading. All these infrastructure we need so that people can go there and do a plug and play laboratory facility and start their venture. It's not only about the infrastructure, but incubation centers can provide funding. They become a crystallizing force. They create a platform where everything can come. Funding can come, risk capital can come, or venture funding. Then it must be inside some ecosystem or clusters or stakeholders. So all these things the biotech incubation center can provide, and therefore the risk of entrepreneurship is very much reduced when you are into the incubation center. Next slide. I think it has gone to the side. It is not in the main slide. It is not coming in the main frame.
Is it?
Yeah, Vibhutiji is not coming to the main frame. It has gone to the side.
Now okay?
No. You are on the your face is coming on the main slide.
Okay. My face is coming to me. Okay now?
No, it is still coming on the sides only.
I'll stop presenting, then I will do this.
Okay, okay. Anyways, while Vibhuti is putting the slides on the screen, if you have any questions, you can put in the chat box so that I can utilize this time to, answer those questions. Yeah, then now it is coming on the main frame.
Okay.
So go back to where I was. Yeah. Before that, yeah. So now I spoke about innovation, isn't it, in biotechnology or in any area? What is that innovation? What is how one innovation is different from other? You can say anything is innovation. A new tea variety in the market is an innovation. New method of, say, extracting the coal or in minerals is a new innovation. Insulin, blood sugar level detection is an innovation. How these innovations are different? See, we are also doing innovation in India. We have been doing innovation because we are doing business innovation. We are known for contract research and services. Okay. So contract research and services, definitely we are ahead. We are the major supplier of vaccines or biologicals to the whole world. That is, Serum Institute, you must be knowing. But when I'm talking about innovation, actually I'm talking about market creating innovations or innovations that are disruptive innovations. Those are different from sustaining innovations and efficiency innovations. So these three types of innovations we must distinguish, and we must know what we are doing. Market creating innovations actually create new markets. For example, let us take the history of innovations. USA was not a very prosperous and honest, efficient country before 1915s or 1900s. Only due to innovations, it became a very powerful country and very efficient country. How did it happen? There were entrepreneurs and innovators who did this for a common man. Before Henry Ford, actually cars were only for elite class and aristocratic class. All the components of automobile engineering or physics, everything was known, but nobody was able to come to a car which was more affordable, essential necessity, which everybody has to use. Nobody dreamt of having a car in those days. When Henry Ford came with his innovation, he created a car which was affordable, which was which was in the range of people who can buy it. Therefore, he created new markets. Earlier, it was only aristocratic market, but now he created new markets, and slowly the cost of car came down, and actually it reached the lowest level. You may be knowing that the car is a historical innovation ground, bedrock of innovation, where other countries have picked up later. For example, Japan has picked up, and they beat US in Toyota and other things, and they introduced to the market in US market itself. Korea is now starting to beat Japan by this new cars, which is coming up in the market, Hyundai or other brands, much more cheaper. So what I'm trying to say is that disruptive innovations create new markets. Okay. Whereas efficiency and other innovations, for example, sustaining innovations, they cater to the needs of the same market, but in a more efficient way. So new markets are not created. Then, for example, efficiency innovation, I talked about, some engineering marvel where you can do a more efficient way of coal mining or anything, minerals. That would cater to the same market, but they can compete with other companies in a better way. Sustaining innovations, where new alternative products are there in the market to sustain that innovation, and they cater to the same market again. So you must understand which market you are trying to address. Very important. For example, when we are talking about medical devices diagnostics, don't you think that diagnostics has created new markets? For example, 20 years back, you had to go to a doctor or hospital to do a pregnancy test, to do a sugar level test. But now you can do it in your home, all these things. So it is going to the customer from bedside to from the hospital to the end user. It is going. These innovations are moving. So they are creating new markets, isn't it? Next slide. So this is an example of market creating innovations where you can see that they are encompassing, they are trying to increase the full market segment, or many segments are included, or they create new markets. Next. They create local jobs through research development, logistics, sales and marketing, general administration, after sales services. That's why economies which are more entrepreneurial and innovative, they create lot of local jobs and global jobs also. Low wage manufacturing, you can outsource assembly, supplies of raw materials, etc. So market creating innovations generate local jobs very much. That's how the economy increases. Next. See, till now I have discussed about the principles of innovation, what are the challenges and opportunities in innovation, in biotech innovations, but I gave examples of other fields also to just bring about a point of what innovations mean. But let us study Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, how it has come around and how it has nurtured innovations, so that you can understand that microcosmic study is important and you can induce it to other areas. You can think about how to set up this in Patna, how to set up this in other states. So it is very important to know, and this is a crucial part of innovation, because your startups are nurtured in these biotechnology incubators, especially biotech startups. Very difficult to do. See, IT startups can happen in your lab, sorry, in your. One may argue that, oh, biotechnology, Kiran Mazumdar Shaw started in garage. Okay, that time there was no incubation center, there were no support system. But eventually she started in garage, no doubt, but then she commercialized the product, the brew making and all, and then she moved into high-end products, and for that she needed a full-fledged laboratory, which she built. Next. Again, it has gone to the sides, Vibhuti ji. Mainframe, it is lost.
It's Google problem, I think, sir. It's a Google issue. Anyway, I'll try. Now it's okay?
No.
Okay. Okay now?
Yeah, now it is okay. So Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is a part of Bangalore Helix Biotech Park, which has three components. One is educational institution area, which is Institute for Bioinformatics and Applied Biotechnology, Center for Human Genetics, which is around 20 acres of land. And the next is innovation area, which is Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. And the next is industrial cluster area, where a lot of bigger companies are there. Okay, so this is three components are actually synergizing with each other. For example, if a company in Bangalore Bioinnovation Center needs manpower, they will look for IBAB and CSG to provide their MSc and PhD students. If they are looking for intellectual property rights to commercialize, we will look for IBAB, CSG and many other institutions. But since they are in our campus, we will go for it first. But this is the synergy that we are talking about. The bigger companies provide a lot of confidence to startup companies, because the bigger companies can act as a merger and acquisition for the startup companies. They can collaborate, they can take ideas, they act as an anchor for these startup companies. So therefore, all the three components are very, very synergizing with each other. Biotech startups in Bangalore Bioinnovation Center also will become bigger one day. which then Infosys and Novozymes, Biocon. So it's an industrial cluster basically. So cluster of clusters. I think this will emerge as the brightest spot in the globe. Right now, Bangalore is number 10 in innovation or the ecosystem ranking. And I have been appointed by Government of Karnataka to bring it to a top 5. I am working very hard. We have collaborated with international agencies to keep it to take it to the next 5. Let us see. It will be a pride for our country, and also it can replicate in other areas also. Next slide. When we talk about infrastructure, so what do we do actually? Bangalore Innovation Center will provide infrastructure. That is the first thing. So you don't need to create your own labs. You come here, plug and play laboratory. You use it, and we will be very happy to provide any other services. So, for example, meeting rooms, conference rooms, training rooms, etc., which is required for a startup company, you can come here and use it. You can choose your own type of lab. It can be a bigger lab, a smaller lab. Everything is available. Next slide. Then we have, say, for example, cell culture facility. If you want to do cell culture. Next. Molecular biology lab. I'm not going to the details of each equipment because it will take huge amount of time. Next. Proteomics small scale analysis lab. Next. Microbiology lab. Next. Flow cytometry cell sorter facility. Next. Histology lab. Fermentation facility. Other supporting facilities. In addition to this, we have been funded by BIRAC to establish a MedTech center where medical devices and diagnostics prototyping can happen. Mechanical lab is there, software lab is there, and electronics prototyping lab is there. Next. We have intellectual property cell, IP cell, which can do prior art, patentability, freedom to operate, patent landscaping, patent validity, infringement analysis. We have impaneled lawyers or legal firms to file your IPs. We have helped companies wade through regulatory pathways. We have environmental health and safety division, which takes care of regulatory compliance. We have agricultural food and nutrition division. We are now funded with Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana for 50 crores grant from Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana to set up Agri Innovation Center next to Bangalore Innovation Center, which we are setting up. Next. When we talk about nurturing innovations, we actually create global linkages. Who will know the startup companies unless we take it to the global level? So we have partnered with US, Korea, Australia, Japan, China, all these governments. We have partnership where our startups can go there, their startups can come here. We can have a funding from their side. They can come to India to taste the markets of India before fully. So soft lending options. So many things we do. Especially, actually, I gave the example of US. That it was a poverty-stricken country before 1900s and all. But you will be surprised to know South Korea before 1970s, it was also a poor and corrupt country. South Korea, can you imagine? And now when we go to South Korea, it is no less than US. In fact, in many ways, it is more than US. How this has happened? The ultimate name comes Samsung. And many more innovations that South Korea has come. Japan, for example. Japan, before World War II, it was before World War II, it was all destroyed. Again, within 10 years, it recovered and became a global power due to innovations, innovations in electronics. Its markets, its products were flooded in the global markets. Next. So, global linkages, we are signing MOU with JETRO, for example, Japanese Trade Organization. You can see our Honorable CM, our Deputy CM, and many more dignitaries, and in front of them we are signing agreement with the Consulate General of Japan. These are rare things to happen. This has to happen in every state of India. But the fact that Government of Karnataka gives so much emphasis on this is very, very apparent. Next. At the national level, we have a lot of collaborations with BIRAC, with NASSCOM, with IIT Mumbai, with IIT Kanpur. So what this collaboration means is that we can pull up resources from each one of them and develop our own ecosystem also. Next one. National linkage, Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, we have signed agreement where the agreement means what? It's not a piece of paper. We actually work to have these innovations flowing from the academic labs to BB, Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. We have many startup companies from these institutions who are nurtured at Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. That is our credit. So that is how we can say we feel proud that Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is a choice. Why people are not being incubated at those host institutions, for example, you may ask. The Institute of Horticulture Research has an incubation center. Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Research has an incubation center. Indian Institute of Science has incubation center. Why people, the startup companies are leaving that host ecosystem and coming to Bangalore Bioinnovation Center to set up? The reason is they want to come out from the academic atmosphere because the traces of academic atmosphere will hinder their growth. The investors will feel that they are still at the academic level. They don't have the confidence when they come out from the center and in an established ecosystem. Then only the investors will feel confident about them. Now, Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is not associated with any particular institution. It is a standalone incubator. That is very important. It is the country's only standalone incubator. Others are in the host institutions like IIT or JNCSR or CCAMP is in NCBS, National Center for Biological Sciences, and in STEM. So this is very important to note. Next. We had the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. We have signed MOU when we were launching the product. Vijay Raghavan, the Prime Minister advisor, was also there, and he was impressed by our innovations in that arena. Next one. Regional linkages. We form so many students, entrepreneurship webinars, seminars, etc. across the state of Karnataka. We invite students for industrial visit. We collaborate with the institutions, etc. So ICR, all these centers you see, RV College, BMS College, good engineering colleges here, NITE, etc. We have formed MOUs. Next. We have received the best incubator in the country by Biospectrum, and many other awards we have received. Next one. We have launched 24 products related to COVID. No other institution in India has launched so many products. In this recognition of this, you might have seen in the newspaper that our Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has visited Bangalore Bioinnovation Center to know what kind of innovations are happening and to interact with the industry and stakeholders. So this is a great pride. This incubation center should become that much capable in each state to have that kind of innovations going on and recognition. That is how the startup will feel confident about it. Next. Again, new launches of the product. Next one. Again, COVID-19 launches. Next set of launches. Next. Then we have partnered with, please go to the previous slide. We have partnered with Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences to go for an innovation challenge, COVID-19 innovation challenges, where we had we have scouted some innovators and we are nurturing them. Actually, our Honorable Prime Minister had addressed the foundation day in which the innovation challenge was floated in collaboration with Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. Next one. We provide a lot of funding for startups. So these are the companies we have funded through Idea to POC. Idea to POC is a challenge, is a grant scheme from Government of Karnataka. And we are implementing partner for BIREC also as associate partner for Biotech Ignition Grant. Next one. These are current startups which are there in our center. Most of them have got a lot of awards. They have got funding. So I'm not going to the details of each one of them because time is limited for us. But you can see on the slides, and you can write to me if you want to know more about this. Next one. These are Shankar Narayan Life Sciences, Biomonitor. Next one, MedTech. Agri Industrial Biotechnology, these are the companies. Then Agri Food and Nutrition, these are the companies. Next one. Biopharma, Next one. These are graduate companies. Around 25 companies have already graduated, and most of them are successful. Only 5 or 7 companies have not been able to make the mark, but most of them have moved out to industrial location and they have started their own company, their own business, the scale up, you can say. Next one. These are all graduate companies. Next one. This is the only incubation center in the country which is 100% occupied. We have established MedTech incubator under BioNest scheme of BIREC. Next one. We have a lot of awards and recognitions which I have already talked about. Next one. We have seed funds also given by BIREC, which we can give to the startup companies in terms of some small equity, say 5% equity. You must be understanding about equity and debt. There are 2 types of funding. One is debt funding, one is equity funding. If you go to bank to take the loan, that is called debt funding. If you go to investors who will take shares in your company, that's called investment equity. So we have some grants given by Government of India to take equities, small equities in these startup companies in lieu of giving some grants. Say, for example, if we give 30 lakhs, we can take some 5% equity. That is what one example I gave. We have a strong mentorship program called Karnataka Startup Advancement Program, where we mentor these startup companies. Next one. A very good collaboration is with Australian government Victoria, where every year we do MedTech Got Talent pitch, where all the startups can pitch and they are taken to Australia. Some of the winners can be taken to Australia, where they are funded, they are guided, they are mentored, nurtured, etc. Next. We have generated around 400 employment. We have Idea to POC Elevate program that is running. Next one. Our IT minister, Ashwath Narayanji, is a Minister of Biotechnology, Science and Technology. He opines that BBC has emerged as a pioneer and topmost institutions of innovation and product development. Next one. Vijay Raghavan, Prime Minister advisor, has come to BBC and he was so impressed that he says Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is a leader and it is showing the path of bioinnovation in the entire country. Next one. University of Agriculture Sciences, we have strong collaboration, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Vice Chancellor, says that the facilities are boon to the startups and students who have great concepts, and he is happy to associate with BBC for all applied research and activities related to agriculture. Next one. So I thank you for this patient hearing of this presentation. I hope I am on time. I would like to just say that we must work together to create these kind of great ecosystems, and government must play a very crucial role here. The other thing I would like to emphasize is when I talked about Henry Ford, who had come out with the car, this is my favorite case because it has changed the whole nation drastically. Before Henry Ford and after Henry Ford, if you do the analysis, historical analysis, you will find a great difference. When the car became accessible to the general public, they demanded the government that roads should be built. There was a huge demand for roads, and now in US you see the roads, they are like, lifeline of nation. They are huge roads and infrastructure that is built. Then petrol bunks were built. Then schools were built near the locality so that children can go to schools. They wanted transparency in the system. They demanded huge things from government. So what I'm trying to say is that one particular innovation can change the fate of entire country, and the entire country becomes prosperous. That is how we are seeing in India now. We are at the cusp of development. You must have seen in the newspaper, daily some IPOs are happening, initial public offerings. Unicorns are being born daily. Flipkart, Zomato, this and that, so many. Paytm. The time when US had unicorns and China had unicorns, that time has come to. Unicorns means startup which has reached a valuation of $1 billion, more than that. And therefore, I would suggest that we create more startups, more unicorns in biotechnology. We don't have any example of unicorn in biotechnology, though, in area of innovation. If we can change the fate of our country through innovations in biotechnology by creating unicorns, I think it will create a lot of social transformation and changes which will lead to new government policies, improved government policies, and so that what we see today, corruption, inefficiency, etc., will go. It is very, very important to see that we have been struggling to create great nations across, since time immemorial. But the key to the growth and prosperity is actually innovation. It will go. All corruptions will go. I'm telling you, all inefficiency will go from the government side once the innovations come to the market, because people will look for more development. People will be empowered to ask the government, please give this, otherwise we'll not vote for you. So with this, I'm completing my talk. Thanks for patient hearing, and I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jitendra. It was a wonderful talk, elaborating right from what we should consider as an innovation for commercialization and what we should not, and then elaborating how we can get help from your incubation centers and what are the other ways from the funding. But may I request before I open this discussion to the questions, because many of our audiences are students, so may I request to just briefly tell us, suppose if as a student, if I find out I know a pain point of the public and I have an innovation that can solve their problem, but I don't have money, I don't know how to start a business. So how we can approach incubators, what are the tech support they provide, facility provide, how much they charge, and from where to get the money, what are the funding sources other than incubation itself, government sources. I think if you can summarize in a quick practical way, many of our students will be keen to listen to this.
Very good. Very pertinent question. Everybody, all researchers and scientists have a secret dream of starting a company. In fact, when I was a PhD student, postdoc, I also thought that I'll do some innovation and discovery and invention, and I'll change the face of nation, and I'll earn a lot of money and all. But somehow in the circle of, in finding good jobs and settlements, and we want to settle life in life, all these dreams get obliterated, But the time has come now when these dreams can come true. Because if a student wants to, or any researcher, or for that matter, any innovator wants to start up a company, or take up his idea to a market, or start a innovation-led company, first thing he has to approach is Biotech Ignition Grant, that is held every 6 months. It is held by BIRAC, which gives 50 lakhs of funds as a grant. You don't have to return that money. 50 lakhs, you can derive some part of your salary also. Some part, not huge, you cannot, but some part you can derive. And that gives you at least a chance opportunity to explore your ideas, isn't it? That is for 1.5 years, 18 months, but then you can apply for next level, which is called BIPP, Biotechnology Industry Promotion Program, and SIBRI. So all these are stepwise. So once you are successful in this stage, then you can go for BIPP, SIBRI, and then we have some LEAP fund from BIRAC again. Now every state has started a biotech policy. We have Karnataka startup policy, Bihar startup policy, Himachal startup policy. Every state has come up with startup policies. I'm sure each state has a grant giving system where they can give grant to the startup companies. You should approach your state also. That is second step. Third step is you can actually identify some industries or industrialists in your area or at the national level, and approach them with your idea. The risk is that your ideas can be overtaken by them. That is one. But at least I would think that they may be helpful. Suppose, for example, if somebody goes to Kiran Majumdar's shop with the idea, she will give a good hearing, and she has supported many startups also, although she will take some shares in the company. But the value of the company will increase. So this is what you must understand, the share business. If you give the shares, doesn't mean that your shares have reduced. The value of your shares have increased. So actually, the pie has reduced, but the value of the pie has increased. Okay, so that you have to understand. Now, uh, uh, after that, somehow I believe with my experience, after these grants and all, I think customers are your best investors. You come out with some uh, products that can be given to the people, with these grants and all, and then suppose hospitals, they should be able to fund you. Suppose you have come up with the oxygen concentrator, suppose you have come up with the medical device and diagnostics, and you have cleared all the regulatory clearance and you are deployed in one hospital, you should be able to get funding from those hospitals to, you know their customers, isn't it? They will support, they will fund you. So there are challenges, but there are opportunities. I think one thing that in biotech entrepreneurship is perseverance. You can reap the benefits at a much later stage, but it is worth doing it because it can give you immense level of satisfaction that you have started a company which has become grown and it has served the whole market. Suppose it's not a, I would not say that it's a money making business. Please do not, it's not a gold rush that okay, you will, we'll earn a lot of money. No, money can come as a byproduct, but actually it is creating value for the society should be your motive. Value generation or wealth generation for the society should be your motive. Each and every component we are getting from China nowadays, each region, small things, can't we produce on our own? Can't we have a small setup to, okay, we will do this region we will manufacture ourselves? It is possible. It is possible. There is huge market. How China has captured the whole market globally. We can do also. We just have to pull up our socks and fight. That's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jitendra. So if I sum it up, so like if I have a product to solve, so I can reach BBC or any other bioincubator at a very nominal cost, of course. They will provide also a tech support, how to form a company, how to register a company, and how to get IPR protection on our product. So this help we can get from the incubators.
We can get those.
Here help we can also apply at the first stage to BIG grant, the government of India. They will give fund. So we get a fund, we get the space, we get identity, and then we have to next go for identifying the customers.
Yes.
Once we have the customers, then we get valuated and then go to the next level with the funding.
Yes. Regulatory challenge, you have to file for regulatory things. Because even for medical device, you may have to go to CDSCO for getting clearances and all. Those are time-taking things and lot of bureaucracy is involved. But incubation centers can help. They are mandated to help in regulatory filings also.
So now I open this to all the audiences. If they have any specific questions, please. I have number of questions to ask, but I know it's not for me, it's for the students. So I open it to all the students and the participants and the audiences to feel free to ask and get queries answered from the experience of Dr. Jitendra. If you have query, you can type in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask. So Dr. Jitendra, before somebody types in their questions, let me also ask you one thing.
Please.
Suppose once we come out with a product and you're the incubators, whether you're any other incubator in the country, they give us support to protect it and to develop it. So how you do the tech transfer procedure, and is there any equity sharing involved with the incubators, with BBC incubators?
Yeah. So in our incubation center, most of the companies, they would not like to do a tech transfer. They would like to go with their own product and go to market kind of companies we have. Recently, we have seen one example where one company called Neon Technologies has come up with a product technology for detection of COVID within 5 minutes. And we have helped them to license, because he was a scientist. He wanted to keep on going for scientific inventions, innovations, rather than starting his, go for commercialization and product develop, in the market. So he wanted to sell off. I told that it will be, you cannot get a good price because it's too early. But he wanted, no, I will work on another. I don't want to go into this marketing and all that. So we helped them to, identify one Singapore company which licensed out the technology for $100,000, $1 lakh US dollars. So we have and royalty sharing is there. So we sit one on the table to negotiation and all, and see that our startup get the best value. We also help. Say for example, I was at ICIC Knowledge Park. That time CDFD, Center for DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostics, they had many technologies lying on shelf. So we transferred these. We helped in transfer of these technologies to innovators. So we negotiated that no, they cannot give a upfront payment. You are from NIT, so you must be knowing the upfront payment is the most crucial part. Nobody is going to give upfront payment, especially the startup company. So we negotiated that it should be a royalty-based, things. They cannot give them, and so he agreed. BBT, that Dr. Gauri Shankar, the director of CDFD, he agreed. Well, Jitendra, you are right, 100% right. And we help in commercialization through entrepreneurial means. Right now, the technology are sitting on shelf in public research labs. Nobody is looking at them. But this model of entrepreneurial, value creation, and you give the technologies without any upfront payment, and when it is commercialized and successful, you take a license fee, royalties. That model is a very much doable model, and I think we should emulate that. So these are the help that we have provided so far.
There is two questions that has popped up now. One is the question is from Mr. Deepak Kumar. He's asking about microarray. So how to commercialize or monetize the microarray based technologies?
So there are many micro-based array technologies there in the market already, from Lumina. I mean, so many microarray companies are there. Protein micro, DNA micro. I have to ask. But
it's not mentioned. Mr. Deepak Kumar, if you are here, you can unmute and ask.
Any whether it's DNA or protein, etc. We have to find out actually DNA. So we have to find out what is the cost advantage. So there are three differentiating factors for a product over the competition. One is the cost advantage, where can you give your services or product at a much cheaper price from the existing. That is one. Second is the quality advantage. Can you provide better than others, or at least equal? And the third is cost and quality both. So these three differentiating factors for a product are important. So you have to analyze if you can tell more about your technology off the line, maybe you can send your idea, then I can give you analysis of what actually what market it will play, that kind of services and help we can provide. But overall, you have to examine under these three categories: cost advantage, quality advantage, and cost and quality both. These three are differentiating factors for your product. Next one.
If I can add, Dr. Jitendra, so basically there could be at least two areas. One is providing the microarray as a service to the R&D organization or hospitals for the screening of the diseases or the diagnosis of the diseases. The second one could be bringing innovation in the microarray itself and coming out with a new microarray which could be advantageous to what we have. In fact, now the microarray based technology is coming up for the screening as well as the monitoring of the cancer patients in the
personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine.
No, see, anything you said very perfectly, very appropriately. But even if you provide services to hospitals, these are business models. But ultimately, it will hinge on whether your pricing is competitive from the competition or not. Whether it's service or product, the pricing. India is a very price-sensitive market. Howsoever animosity we may have with China, when it comes to the choosing, if you go to market, oh no, this mobile looks very good, this is so nice and it's so cheap, so nobody will go for Indian make or any other. They'll go for China only.
There is another question from Ms. Sujata Kumari. I think I will reform the question. It says how develop the market and product, or I think she wants to ask how to create a market and how to create a product. I think these are two distinct questions. How to create a product is probably beyond the scope of this, but how to create a market for a product.
If you can position your product in such a way that the perception of customer changes. For example, one example I'm giving. Suppose I want to do some tests in COVID times, some tests, blood tests, okay, and I don't want to go to hospital because hospital will, is threatening to me. It's an intimidating experience to go to hospital. I'll pick up COVID. So everybody wants to go to, in home only if somebody can come. Now, you can create new markets by advertising your product as, focusing on this. For example, you can come to home itself and do testing. So basically, people who are not willing to go to hospital will be your customers. This is a new market because that time people are not going to hospital. It has created another segment so that you can tap on. One example. Second example is, if you suppose, for example, if you can, something is very, very costly that people cannot afford. For example, in Bihar, for example, tier 2 cities. I come from Mithila region of Bihar, Darbhanga. My home is in village. It is very difficult for a person living in interior village to go to hospital in cities. He will not go to Paras hospital in Darbhanga, and we are lucky that Paras is there in Darbhanga. Think about other regions which are much more there is no hospital there. Can we bring a mobile kind of ambulance kind of thing to door? There have been some experiments. Doctor will be sitting there and you have all the appliances. You just door to door like a vendor, like, khira le lo, sabji le lo, aam le lo, वैसा ही. You can go to. So you are creating new markets actually. You are making affordable to those people who are not going to hospital at all. So that is the reason. That is how you can create product and create new market. You have to just go to the hospitals if you are into healthcare. If you want to go for agriculture, you have to go to fields. How many of us have gone to villages? I have been born and brought up in army atmosphere and then went to abroad and all that. Although my home was in village. Only recently, when I associated with Vibhuti ji for Bihar Science Conference, I thought that, okay, let's go to my village also. And then I discovered so many new things. Oh, we were thinking, I studied agriculture, where 5 crops in a year was taught to us. But in field, we are seeing only 2 crops, rice and wheat, maybe one more dal also, something, if they are lucky. The reason I asked, one is flood, which is beyond our control. And second is, they say, no, वो गाय चल जाता है, so no, because अगर आप ही कीजिएगा, if you are alone doing in your village, then other people, Maveshi वगैरह, and all the cattle will come and they will eat. So where is that fencing material, low cost fencing material for agriculture? One of the intimidating factors in agriculture is the theft or the, cattle that we don't have a low cost fencing material. If you have to build a wall, you will end up losing 50 lakhs of money even for your farm, if you want to create a farm. So therefore, you have to identify what is the pain point, as Dr. Mukesh Gupta once said, pain point of the society. How can you actually address that pain point in a more affordable way, in a more ingenious way, in a more innovative way? You are the king, I am telling you. There are examples where in Bihar also people have become millionaires and billionaires in agriculture. One example I saw was rice husk they use for electricity generation. I do not know what is the current status, but I thought it was a very good. There are many IITians and MBAs, IIMs from Bihar. They have come to Bihar and started their own company, their own agriculture farm, etc. So one company was doing this agriculture aggregates, from apps. They wanted to have marketing aggregates, market forecasts and all. They are all hits in the market. So you just have to find a way to.
And the second question was, I think bioincubators also help in fabrication of the product. Once they have it, I think you can get. Yes, they do have some fabrication facility, or if something you have to outsource. Now we have another person, Miss Rani Kumari. I think she wants to ask some question. Rani Kumari, if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask.
one more thing. Harsha Javed is pinging up. Yes,
It's not there in my, but in my, I have another question. It's a controversial question from Mr. Vikash Kumar. Why biotech startup fails? I think it doesn't fail.
No.
It has other things for you. I'll open it. I will give it to
You
Dr.
cannot say that it fails, but definitely it is more riskier than others. It is more capital intensive than others, and it is more time taking than others. These three are associated with biotech. But you must understand that risk and reward are inversely proportional. More risk, directly proportional. More risk, more rewards. Less risk, less reward. So, for example, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, she is a billion. She is a king of biotech. She started just brewing, kind of beer brewing or some tea brewing, etc. And now she's a doyen of a biotech company. So it cannot be said that they are failed. Novozymes is there. Strand by examples are in Bangalore itself. So a lot of successful examples within BBC also. Just now I gave the examples where technology licensing $100,000. How many of us can earn $100,000 in our lifetime serving as a government job? We cannot save much. Salaries are very less. But getting $100,000 for innovation is a good amount, I think. So,
If I can add, I think there is no one among us here who would not have used biotech product till date. At
Yes.
least detergent that they get,
That
that
is
detergent is a biotech product. Medicines are biotech product.
Yes, that is a success.
That is a
Very-
success.
Very direct way of telling that biotech ventures do not fail. Otherwise, will not exist.
Will not exist.
Biotech products that are in the market.
Right from the detergent, daily use detergent, to even the chocolates,
Chocolates.
the engineered microorganisms,
Yes, yes.
even the fermented foods, all are biotech products.
Whole agriculture is thriving on new innovations. Mycorrhiza, organic farming. New things are coming up daily in the market.
So there is another question in the same line from similar name, Vikash Kumar Sahu. How biotech technology are useful to us? Maybe if you permit, Dr. Jainendra Kumar, I'll take up this question.
Oh, please go ahead.
Being a professor of biotechnology, I think we can talk hours on this. Biotech, as I said, it started from several generations, right from the Mohenjo-daro and the Harappa times. Those things it came. Fermented product, the chocolates, the bread that we get, modified variants, all are biotech products. Of course, we do not consider them now because they're not directly genetically engineered ones. But as I said, detergents that we use are biotech products. All the proteinaceous drugs, all the peptide drugs that you get in the market are biotech products. Most of the anti-cancer drug or monoclonal antibodies that you get for specific patient therapy, all are biotech products. Insulin that you get in the market is a biotech product. So drugs, the agriculture products, the seedless products. Once upon a time, seedless product used to be from the breeding. Nowadays, they are no more breeding. They are biotech products. Tomato that you are eating today, tomato, it used to be the cherry-like size. Today, you get big size. We are able to solve the problems of the population because of biotechnology. We are able to grow the plant in the seesaws because of biotech. So it's unlimited. We can go on and on and on. So now we have got other questions. Sir, how can we make our career in this field? How can we make a startup or entrepreneurship?
Same thing. The whole webinar I gave was on that only. You can start writing grants to the government. You can register your company. You can approach your nearest bioincubator in the country, in your place where you are. But Bangalore Bioinnovation Center being a national incubator, you can always approach. You may have to relocate to Bangalore, which many people like to relocate. That's not an issue. And then you get mentorship. You get associate. You make advisory team a very strong advisory team who have known it, who have seen it, who have done it, and go ahead. And whole ecosystem is with you. So that is how you do a biotech entrepreneurship.
You have to first, I think, as a student, they have to come out with some innovation is something which is person specific. They have to identify the pain points, get your innovation in line, and then approach a bioincubators. They will give you all kind of helps, whether it's in the Bangalore or anywhere else. So it's easy. It's not, government has made so many relaxed regulations. They have made funding opportunities. So making a startup in current scenario is much easier than what it used to be in earlier. There's another question. The Bangalore has advantage of being an IT city. What about the cities like Patna, Lucknow, etc.?
Patna and Lucknow and other North Indian cities have tremendous potential, because if, say, let us face this, Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad has lot of population from North India who has powered this city. I would think that most of the IT and biotech companies are powered by, in Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, although Kannada is a state language, I have hardly seen anybody speaking Kannada in Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, because they all are from North, mostly. Even the companies from Delhi are coming to Bangalore. They'll start, even if they are in Bangalore, they are from other cities, like, they have started a company in Bangalore, but they are from other cities. So I think Patna and Bangalore, Lucknow and all, they have huge potential. The manpower, they are very talented, very high energy, fertile brain. But only thing is that the social conditioning is not there. That is the reason they go outside. Social conditioning means creating new social paradigms. Most of them are bogged down by concepts of marriage, whatever marriage, settling down in life, government jobs. These are concepts which are, outdated. Although it has some value in establishing yourself, but I think you cannot hinge on always considering this as a mainstay of life, as if there is no other thing in life. You have to, a Bihari boy or a UP boy will first of all, after +2, he has to go to engineering, medicine, and or IAS or something, and then he has to get a government job, he has to marry, so there is a set pattern of life that they want, which may not be congenial for innovation. So therefore, I would like to say that this mindset has to break, the patriarchal system has to break, the feudal system that is in mind that I have to become IAS officer, the power play that is going on in the mind of a Bihari boy or a Lucknow boy because of the social conditioning has to go. Then I think it can change. Society has to change a little bit, but because there is high energy and fertile brain, which I don't see in other parts of country. Of course, there are, I cannot generalize, but mass population. For example, how can so many IITs come from IITians, or so many people qualify for IIT entrance examination from Bihar? How many, medical IAS? That means they are highly talented people. This IIT coacher, Anand sir or somebody, I forgot.
Yes, Mr. Anand Kumar.
Top 30.
Yes,
I saw that movie, and of course I know from the news also. He selected students who were not even going to school, or even going to very obscure schools. They cracked top 30 IITs. So those kinds of talent you will find only in Bihar or that region, because this is a great position actually. So genetic pool will not change. So I am not being a racial here, but I am trying to encourage that we have a very strong genetic pool, and the full potential has to be realized. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Jitendra. I think we do not have any other further questions. Any other questions there? If you have, then yeah, there is one.
One question is there, no, from Deepak Kumar.
There is a request to give your precious time at LNMU offline mode to motivate and learn them. I think they can get in touch with both Mr. Jitendra Kumar as well as our Bihar Brains chairman, Mr. Vibhuti Vikramaditya. They will certainly arrange. I know that Dr. Jitendra Kumar has been associated with Bihar Brains and the Bihar for a long time. I think at least I know it for the last 15 years. So definitely he will help you. Is there any other further question?
I want to say something that this year Bihar Science Conference is going to be organized in association with Air University. So you will be probably assisted by us. You will be benefited by this kind of activities in Islam University. So wait for some time in December, between 3rd December to December, Bihar Science Conference is going to be organized. It has not yet been, advertised, but after some time, maybe after a week, you will get this notification in all the newspapers. So wait for some time. Deepak Kumar is asking some question more. His question is, some beacon. His question was molecular beacon and arms, PCR. Just about it.
Molecular beacons and PCR. I think is more interested to know how this is the COVID vaccine is COVID RT-PCR, real-time PCR, is a classical example of molecular beacons. Is there any other further questions from anyone? Okay, he wants more explanation that molecular beacons and arms PCR.
We can explain offline because time is limited now.
Yes, it's more of a theoretical concept.
A theoretical and technical question,
yeah,
which I can give the answer. Once you can in touch with offline.
Audience could ask question for innovation kind of like.
Right.
If you have any problems in innovation, if you want to go for the innovation, any product idea you have, please share with us and apply for that.
So if there is no further question, may I request our chairman to please convey our thanks or what we feel to our presenter.
Before giving thanks to both of you first, Jitendra ji and Mukesh ji. Jitendra ji for delivering a nice lecture and Mukesh Gupta ji for moderating the session. Both are the brilliant persons, and I know both of you since my start of this Bihar Brain Society from Korea. So Mukesh ji was there in South Korea when I was the engineer in the company, and he was professor in the Konkuk University. Jitendra ji was then in Ohio State University that time in USA. He was not in India that time. He came back like me. I also came back to India. He also came back to India. Mukesh ji also came back from India. So all the three have come back to India and delivered something to the state of Bihar and India as well. So I want to say something like before this product, this topic about innovation. 2-3 things should be you should have in mind. First thing. When you say something innovation, like you should have vision. What kind of product you are looking for and whether you have interest in that subject. I saw people of Bihar, they talk much. They have a raw data. They saw some information in the newspaper or maybe somewhere else, or some professor is talking in the classroom. So he has some raw data. And he has come up with the raw data and will talk to you like he has some great achievement. So I will first suggest all of you that before telling anybody that you have innovation, you should take all the information gathering from all across the world, that whether your idea is good or not. First thing, that your idea is good or not. How to check your idea is good or not? These are Googling are there. First thing to do for Googling. Confirming for that, first prior information you will get from the Google. Second, you can get it from the kind of the person who are in startups, the kind of the person who are in the companies. But don't talk much about the teacher who are taking classes in the classroom only. They are only the theoretical teachers. You can talk to teachers who are involved themselves in producing some products like innovation kind of. So first check your product whether it is marketable. Before going for marketing, you should search for whether it is feasible or not. First thing, that if you have some idea, search whether your idea is good or not. Second is, if your idea is good, then can you implement? Whether you have a technical ability to implement. If you have a technical ability 60%, minimum 60% to implement, then you go for implementing. Otherwise, suppose you have idea, you can implement, but you know only 40%. So knowing only 40% and taking help from others will again be bother you. So I feel that if you are 60% confirmed that I can implement this idea, then go for it. Third, that if you now you are confirmed that you can implement this idea, then you should go for checking that whether your idea is going to be implemented by you, will be sold by some company, or if it is marketable or not. If the product is not marketable, then even if you go for the product implementation, it will not be sellable. It cannot be sold. So again, there is a problem. So I feel that for an innovator, these 3-4 things should be clear in your mind, in your vision. So you should be visionary first for going for any kind of innovation to be implemented. So I want to say this thing. Second thing, like Chandraji should have elaborated that startups have the problems, many problems. First problem is first to take up the idea. How to take up the idea? I told you first. Second problem is how to get funds. So there are many startups, incubators in India these days. They just take products, but they are failing in giving funds. Suppose they give only 10 lakh seed fund. Some startup gives 10 lakh seed fund. But that 10 lakhs in 4 tranches means 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. I don't think it is feasible. Like, suppose your product is of 50 lakhs. I gave one proposal to IIT Patna, and the product cost was 56 lakhs. If I don't get 56 lakhs in 6 months, how can we start the product? So first thing is that, suppose you are getting 10 lakhs from any of your incubators, then you should try for the fund availability, like 56 lakhs, how can you manage 56 lakhs? How can you manage that rest 40 lakhs? So that is very important. Suppose you get fund from 10 lakhs from this BBC, and you are not getting fund from other kind of incubators for just 40 lakhs, then your product will be held up in any point of time. So I think I was talking to some incubators that only 10 lakhs is not, is not kind of satisfactory. I feel this sum. It should be increased around 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs. These funds should be increased by 20 lakhs minimum, I think so. So these things you should keep in your mind before starting any kind of product or any kind of innovative ideas to develop. And I'll tell all of you that please visit the BBC site, Bangalore Bioengineering site, and go through their process of submitting the proposal. I think this is very simple. Proposal. It should have some one PPT kind of, or MS Word. In MS Word, there are some few questions they ask. I'll just give all those answers and send mail to that email ID. So this is the process. I think so. Very simple process. In not only BBC, there are many incubators in all over India nowadays. In Bihar also there are many incubators these days. So I think in national level, I think more than 100 incubators are there. If I see the MSME website, more than 100 incubators are there. But very few incubators, or you can say very few incubation centers, are doing very good. So I won't go deep into that, but one thing I say, that if you have a product, you should talk to the incubators, should reach the incubators, good incubators, so that you get a fund. You should have the fund reachability first. So these are the few steps to go for startups. So I'll stop my this teaching for 5-10 minutes. I've taken a long time, I think so. I think these things have not been covered by Jitendraji in his lecture. So now I thank both Jitendraji and Mukesh Kumar Gupta ji for giving lecture. I think 1 hour. It was a very long lecture given by director of the Bangalore Bioenergy Center, Dr. Jitendraji, and he has a long experience with IKP Knowledge Park also, Bangalore Bioenergy Center also, and the most important thing is that he is from Bihar, he is from the Darbhanga region of Bihar, and more than that, he is very curious to help, and he is very affirmative to help the students, engineers, professors of Bihar, living in different states of India as well as Bihar. So you can take help from him anytime, any point of time. He has you can write email to him, I think so, and he will be probably very very positive by giving response to you. Thank you, Jitendraji, and thank you, Mukesh ji. Right from beginning, आप तो बहुत पहले से ही काम करते रहे हैं, और आपके यहाँ भी ऐसी NIT में जो आपका इकोसिस्टम है, क्या वहाँ ऐसा कोई सिस्टम है स्टार्टअप का?
जी हमारे यहाँ है FTBI है, फाउंडेशन फॉर टेक्नोलॉजी बिजनेस इनक्यूबेटर, एंड हम भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं। यहाँ पे कोई भी आ सकता है, उनका प्रपोजल दे कैन सेट अप their startup here, and with a very nominal cost. First year is actually free, very nominal cost. Otherwise we provide a space, we provide basic facilities, and we provide the access to the equipments that can be used. We provide address, we provide telephones, we provide internet, all free. And we have tech support we provide for the IPR filing, we provide tech support for the company registration, both CA as well as legal support we provide. All comes at a very minimal cost. It comes with them. And we do have some seed funding coming from BIRAC or coming from the Odisha DST, but those are very limited amount. We help them to get funding from, as Dr. Jinendra explained, from the PIG grant, if it's for biotechnology, or Nidhi Prayas is also another one which it comes from here. So there are a number of things coming from the BIRAC, and even we also help them to pitch the innovations to the angel investors. That also we organize now and then some of the other such pitching. But ours is much small. We are nowhere close to what BBC is doing in Bangalore. We are nowhere close to that.
तो स्पेसिफिकली मैं आपको कहना चाहता हूँ ये कि यहाँ के लोगों के लिए, बिहार के लोगों के लिए या बिहार झारखंड के लोगों के लिए, मतलब आपके सेंटर की ओर से क्या क्या कुछ किया जा सकता है, कुछ स्पेशल थिंग जो बताएं? क्या
जरूर किया जा सकता है। हम एक देखिए, हम वी आर एसोसिएट पार्टनर ऑफ BIRAC, Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. So basically they have mandated us to go across India and scout the innovations. It's not limited to Karnataka. So we have a pan-India presence, pan-India mandate. We can start a small office in Patna to cater to the needs of the startup companies. In due course of time, we can hire one person to be sitting there and attending to all the calls, or talking to the entrepreneurs. We can have a batch of students, entrepreneurs, promising students, entrepreneurs to come to Bangalore. We can host them in Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. We can provide maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months orientation for these students in Bihar. They can interact with our startups in Bangalore to get knowledge about what is going on, and so they can go back to their state and do. They can apply for incubation to Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. As you said, a small application form is very simple. It's not like BIRAC, very complicated. Don't quote me. Officially, I'm just telling personally. It's very simple application. They can become a member of Bangalore Bioinnovation Center even if they are somewhere else. Of course, at one point of time they have to register a company in Karnataka. But to start with, I'm saying, to latch on to the system, to plug into the ecosystem, it is very doable. Personally, you can, students, entrepreneurs can write to me for any help that, okay, they are facing this difficulty, that difficulty, I can help. We have a DST program of entrepreneurship training that can be, that I will circulate the information to Bihar chapter of, we have Brain Society. They can attend this training program, certificate training from DST. We provide from Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. It's a 6-week program. Every half yearly we do. So next is going to happen in September. People en masse can register from Bihar. So this will provide a breeding ground or maybe a fertile to start with. Let us start with this, and then they can latch on to our bigger ecosystem. That is how we can help.
So we can start here your center in Bihar also, right? This center.
Possible. We can start because BIRAC is associated with us. So we can, in the name of BIRAC, we can start. That one BIRAC BBC chapter in Bihar is possible. We can look at it. Yes.
Very good. So we can apply for this. Okay. So now there is one more question, I think, Mukesh ji.
That question is, I think, is biotechnology condition of university is not well. Please come and give innovation ideas. That's what both of you have been discussing.
No, but I think his question was most probably, or his or her, I do not know because I cannot see the question, but or the name of the person. But I think what he or she is pointing towards is more of a university lethargy and system that is in Bihar mostly. And not only limited to biotechnology, it may be limited to many other things, but because biotechnology has a lot of practicals involved or research facility involved, it may suffer more. I think the answer is that it has to come from the state government or the UGC or say, and more and more central institutions, laboratories, etc. has to be set up so that they can create an example for the state government, state universities. Because right now, state government, state universities may not know also what to do. Slowly, suppose IIT Patna's the incubation center is going fast or going good, then they can, Bihar government can, think about what this can be done in state government also. Let us do this type of thing. So, for example, Karnataka has a lot of exposure from central government that, okay, this has been done. So let us start Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. Of course, with association with central government. So I think to answer your question, central government involvement is very important, especially in case of Bihar, which has become very, very stagnant in terms of education, in terms of universities. Let us latch on to the central government schemes, BIRAC scheme, this scheme, that scheme, so that, slowly the system can be pulled back to the normalcy.
एक क्वेश्चन मेरा भी आपसे है
हाँ.
कि there are, I think, lots of biotechnology departments in every colleges nowadays. In every college there is a biotechnology department, and they keep labs also. But I don't think they are working much. Like the condition of biotechnology in Bihar is not so good. But there are departments.
There are departments on paper. They are. It's a very systemic problem. I can't just say okay, government has to do. Government has to do means nothing can. That answer I am giving is nothing can be done basically because government will do its own what solution I'm providing is that you can latch on to the central government schemes within those departments or encourage students. For example, I'm saying, if in biotech department in Bihar, a student has to write biotech ignition grant, from central government. That will create an example in the state. No? So students have to take initiative. See, one thing I firmly believe is that the universe is a reflection of your own consciousness. This is a highly philosophical statement. I don't want to go into details, but just work on this presumption. The universe is the reflection of your own consciousness. What you see in the world is actually your own reflection. So if you change yourself, society will change. If you want to take one step, okay, slowly it will change. What you can do, you do. What you can do, you do. You don't worry about what government. You can write one mail to Chief Minister or Nitish Kumar or UGC, whatever. That is different. But you keep on doing your own work. You write a recognition grant. You write your own papers. You write your own grants. All these things is possible. Systemic things can be possible only at the state government level.
And for writing a BIG grant, you don't have to be associated with university.
You don't have to associate with university. See, any person can write.
That's the biggest advantage you have. And money doesn't come to the university. Money comes to the founder's account.
Government, it will come directly to your account, not even to the state account of university or your department.
So I think government has also recognized these issues. It's not just with the Bihar. Many universities or state universities have these issues. Government recognized this and made solutions to it. We have to just act on it.
One example I can see. First of all, I have not seen in US. Only in India, I see that politics is highly integrated into the university system. Meaning that the political parties, this and that, XYZ, they have a lot of inroads into university. That has to go. In US, I have not seen such kind of thing that some Ohio State universities, some students are with this party, some student that party. This I have not seen. Here, the politics has made all the ruins. Academic atmosphere is not there with it cannot happen with politics. Just demarcate, just throw away politics from the. I'm talking about the politics, not the usual politics we have. The political system, association with students, parties with the party, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, Janata Dal, this and that, Congress. This should not be there in university system. That will create half of the things it will go. Okay. Hopefully, new education policy will be better because a lot of changes have happened in universities also. University grants commission also.
Yes.
So one more thing I want to ask. मैंने पहले कहा था कि जितनी भी लैब्स हैं बिहार में डिफरेंट यूनिवर्सिटीज में सभी का हालत बहुत खराब है. So can we do something in terms of taking project ideas from these labs?
Sir, इसके लिए I think if they approach the incubators, they have the facility. If somebody has the idea and if you want to develop, they need not depend on the university. They can approach the bioincubators and use those facilities.
If the idea is translational in nature, definitely incubator should come forward to help the university departments. We have in many departments in universities, we have collaborated. So the PhD students come here in our center and they do, but the research has to be translational in nature, not only for publication or academic research. We should see that, okay, this is a technology or product that can come. If that happens, then universities can associate with incubators and laboratories, etc. can be given. We have many medical students coming to BBC to do their thesis and agriculture students, etc. I'm a guide to many PhD students and I take lectures in university. So that kind of association is possible as long as translational and innovation is maintained. It should not be academic.
Yeah. Okay. So now I think there is no question from the public, any of the participants.
So the question that was asked about molecular beacons and arms, etc., a person can get me offline because there's a theoretical question and I need to explain the full, with diagram and everything, how it functions and all. There's some more of a theoretical and academic question. You can ask me, offline.
Okay, so let's now stop this presentation now and this meeting also. Before calling off, I wanted to say something. That this popular talk series was the fifth one in the series, and we try to organize a webinar on the popular topic in different kind of subjects. The first webinar was organized on how to write a paper, research paper. There was huge gathering in that. And after that, we organized a webinar on electronics electronic subject. Third, we organized on COVID-related subjects. And this is the fifth one. It is also a very common topic and for innovation in biotechnology. So next series we will be organizing after 15 days again on any common topic related to the youngsters. So in all the fifth talk, I found that in this lecture the number of participants were more. Not only more, it was the registration was around 134. Around 12 o'clock. So 130 out of 134 students, registered participants, mostly I think 90 or 95 students have participated in this webinar. I am very happy that this kind of huge gathering were there in this webinar, and I give lot of thanks to the participants, registered participants who have who gave his precious time and who were involved themselves in talking to the moderator and talking to the expert, Dr. Jitendra Kumar ji, and both have given very good answers. And this should be continued for the next session also. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Jitendra ji, Mukesh ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir.